All right, guys. So, of course, I have forgotten to plan my week. So, what's new today? So, I'm streaming from two different places, but of course, I've forgotten to plan my week. If you have, like me, well, today is technically only Monday, so I didn't do it last night, but I really need to plan out my week because I'm getting very distracted and trying to film from two places isn't really working. Okay, I think that's better. Okay. I'm getting really distracted, so I need to plan out what I'm going to do. What ultimately I'm going to do is chart out my next 3 months. So there's a couple of things that are going on. One of my businesses is restructuring. Another one of my businesses is may just stay. I was trying to make it more regional, but it may just stay where it is, if not close. And if it closes, then I need to get my other business approved to do business where I'm currently doing business to um actually, to be honest, if I move one business there, um, it could actually do more. I would just have to have more restrictions, not necessarily restrictions, but licensure will now be a thing, which it wasn't prior to. So a lot of things have changed due to the structure of how things are moving in just our economy in general. And because of that, a nonprofit I had, I'm shifting it around and I was able to move a little bit more flexible. And now it's looking like because of where I want to move it to, they actually are just requiring the overseer to be more of a licensed professional, which I am, right? So I can, but it does come with more restrictions. And so what I'm doing today is I need to chart that out. Ultimately, what I want to change everything over to, I need to plan that, all of the nuances. So when you operate in multiple states, you have to operate as a foreign entity. And so if you operate as a foreign entity, you need to register with their Secretary of State. And I will say the states that I've operated in, their Secretary of States are top tier. Like, I recommend my clients, if they have a business, to always go to these places, to your Secretary of State, because they have a lot of information. And so since they have a lot of information, it's helpful to know that if you're in a state that whose Secretary of State is very helpful, to go there. So on YouTube, my head face looks funny. So I'm like trying to like maneuver it so it doesn't, but it looks fine here. But even when I look straight here, it just looks weird. So if I kind of am moving around a little bit, that's what it is. So I need to restructure businesses. I need to plot my summer because my kids will be out of school, what my schedule will look like then. I need to be productive for the day, and look up any processes that I need to put in place. And so what I'm essentially going to do is map out the rest of May, June, and July, possibly the 1st of August, because some things are due around August. And I know that I have some, because school starts around then in the South, some things that I'm more flexible to do in the summer, I need to have wrapped up before August ever gets here. So today, that's what I'm going to do. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to just use this to kind of write things out, and then transfer it over to because it's really hard for me to do live and then put on. So normally, if you came to my last session or just know me personally, honestly, if you just know me personally, I created this because it was on another planner and I like Snoopy. It looks like this though. And that's the name of it. I think you can see 90 days. Chart Your Next 90 Days, called Save Your Success. She has a lot of different cover planners. I don't particularly like any cover that she has right now. I'm whispering like she's here. I just don't. She used to have some really fun colored planners. She used to have plum and purple, and I don't see any of those. The closest that I like the pink, but I feel like the pink is very plain. So for me, this is kind of, it don't matter because it's only 90 days. So for me, I like very colorful planners, but also I don't stick with one. And this has been the best system that I have stuck with. And even then I modify. So if you were with me last time, I clipped my stuff. See, I didn't even fill out the month. So that's what I'm talking about. I didn't fill out the month, but I was more productive and I got a lot of stuff done. Hence how I knew that I needed to restructure everything coming up because of how things were going. I need to kind of restructure some things. The restructuring is going to put more, it's going to require more, I call it red tape, because technically in certain industries, it's kind of a free fall right now. Like consulting isn't as strenuous with compliancing and licensure processes as therapy. Because I'm a therapist now, I will even say right now, the LPCs have the most flexibility. And so I remember in school thinking about, do I want to be a social worker? Do I want to be a professional counselor? Right now, currently, they have the most flexibility because we have what's called the counseling compact. And so because the counseling compact and it went into effect a year ago, now we have a little bit more flexibility to have licensure in multiple states. And I do service coaching clients in multiple states that are looking for me to be their therapist. So I have started in those states to, but it is a lot of compliance because most states, and see, with the counseling complex, it makes it a little bit easier because before you would have to fully go into whatever their licensing process was and then do their licensing process. So, like, for instance, North Carolina doesn't even allow you to gather licensing hours, from my understanding, from what one of my leads told me a couple of years back. They don't even allow you to gather hours until you have passed your tests. I would have been cooked because I was definitely gathering hours before I passed my test. And Georgia is different in respects of you can't, at first, one girl said she kind of got away with, she did something and was able to not have to do this, but technically you're not supposed to be able to take your test unless you're under supervision, which is why most Georgia schools have you take it before you graduate. But since I went to an out-of-state school, and they didn't, and it was, there was one here, but they weren't really signing paperwork like that to help us get licensure. I wasn't able to do that. So a lot of my interns that I graduated with, they actually took the test with their school. And what's interesting is, had I gone to Georgia State, they have the little form you fill out. They send in all the stuff they need. You send in the stuff you need. Then you take your test and you come out of school an associate therapist. So if you want to be a therapist, the best way to do that is to come out an associate therapist. My way was much harder because I was out of state and I did not come out an associate therapist. Therefore, I had a harder time getting jobs because nobody wanted to, as one lady called me a couple of years back, wanted to pay a highly qualified intern. I was not an intern. I don't care